The Maple Leafs, after a very turbulent start, Scotty, have won three in a row here. What was your
Oh,
read on
yeah.
the performance last night in Carolina?
Well, it's very important with certain teams that you play against, and Carolina is probably the one I'm thinking of probably the most. And getting the lead against a team like Carolina is crucial. And they play an up-tempo game, and the Leafs scoring early and then getting a good lead. It takes a lot of the game away from Carolina the way they play because they play a high-paced game. They pinch in. They do give some breakaways, but they have the puck a lot more than the other teams usually. But I think what the Leafs are proving the last few weeks is the depth of the teams this year is going to be crucial with a fast game, so many injuries now, and a condensed schedule. It all adds up that you're not going to be able. I mean, there are teams that are going to use their top guys quite a bit, as we know. I don't know if they're going to be able to do it even after the Olympics, but it's quite a pace when you're going 6 and 11 nights or 4 and 6, and a lot of back to backs. I thought the difference in Toronto the last couple of weeks is the ice time that most of the players are getting, and I guess it's a result of some injuries to players, but especially on the back end without Carlo and Tanev, two right-hand defensemen, but they picked up Stetcher, so that was a good pickup. But they're playing a good game when they get the lead because they got energy, and I think that's the biggest difference. Is they're not just counting on Matthews and Nylander and Tavares to play a lot more minutes than they should, and I think that's been the biggest difference for me. Is the good teams can utilize. I mean, no better example than the playoffs last year with the Florida Panthers, and they're struggling now because the depth has been really hit with both players leaving and injuries.
hmm And going back to the start of the season, it was nothing short of a nightmare for the Toronto Maple Leafs. How surprised were you by the play of this group early in the season?
Well, they weren't. I find their defense is doing a better job. There's not as much room for the opposing forwards to hang around the crease area. I don't know the reason for it, but they seem to be back in their own end, and there's not as much room. And of course, with the goalie getting hurt, Stolars, and then the way Woll has come in, and of course he got injured in the second period. I don't know we didn't find out what happened, but they've been getting this timely saves, but they're not getting the glorious chances against. There was games where they were giving up breakaway after breakaway, and that's not easy for a goalie.
I was talking before he came on about Auston Matthews blocking 6 shots. When a superstar shows that level of commitment defensively, what does it do or what can it do to a team's identity?
Well, it wears on everybody, and I'm not sure the timing. If he he's got a team, he's got some teammates now. They picked up a lot of experienced players that if you look at their lineup, it's through and through, and people are wondering who these players are, but they did play in the league, and I think the way they got their lines set up now. Berube is not afraid to play different lines on the ice. It's not just worrying about the opposition's top guys and who do I have to play against them. So it's pretty encouraging for a coach when you look down your bench and you're not really just looking past a lot of players. So I think that's what they've done is they've decided. I mean, a few have sat out. I know that because you have an extra lineup and you have to try and get everybody on the right page. But I find that what they have now is they don't have to burn out those other players. I mean, they need them on the power play. The power play's got to get better. There's no question about that. It was odd enough that both of these teams last night, I understand from the broadcast that both of these teams were right near the very bottom on the power play goals, but that's encouraging because if you're starting to win games and you're not counting just on the power play, then it will come around. I mean, there's too many good scorers on that team, and but they got good balance now. You know, when they got the way that Nyes is playing, you know, he's a powerful guy, and they've inserted Domi with Matthews, and you know, he'll have to play some defense for those guys for sure, and he can take some face-offs, which is a good thing to have a secondary face-off man. But I find that they got much more balance on their lineup, and you know, he's not afraid to play the defense core that he has every night. He's got players in there that maybe wouldn't have played a lot early in the season.
Well, yeah, Scotty, you mentioned that power play. I mean, there is talent coming out of that power play's ears, and they have been abysmal so far this year. What's your take on that? And as a coach, what do you do when a power play is just underachieving consistently?
Well, you know, there is an adage. I'm not really 100% for it. It's said that every shot is never a bad play, but on the power play, you know, when you start moving it around, and I can go back to when I was coaching the Red Wings, and we had the Russian five, and we were struggling on the power play. I didn't use them very much, and I got along pretty well with Larionov and not Konstantinov, but Fetisov. They were veterans, and they would they would say, you know, what about using us on the power play? So I was getting upset at the first power play that we had, which didn't include those players, but we weren't taking any shots. And I would blow the whistle and say, all you're doing is killing the penalty. But you got the puck in the other end, but you're passing it around. So I tried the Russian. I said, okay, they wanted to try at it, and I used them on one day of practice. I blew the whistle after 30 seconds because I had said, if you don't take a shot, I'm going to blow the whistle, and we're going to change. And they kind of laughed, and they said, well, we're not used to taking shots unless we have open nets. I said, well, you know, if that's the case, we're going to have a hard time playing you on the power play. But I think going back to Toronto, like, you know, you've got to have that shot from the point that would result in a takeaway. The puck doesn't always have to go deflected in, but it's your power play is often retrieval, and so if you never take a shot, you're going to keep the puck, but are you going to take like you're looking for the perfect shot? You're looking for the backdoor play. There are some. Chicago's done a good job. I don't know who's doing the power play. I think it's I'm not sure. It's Mike Vellucci. Yeah, he does the power play, and Pekka does the penalty kill. They got a pretty good organization now on the coaching staff. But I think that, you know, when you look at the one play they have Bedard, of course, that can pass and shoot, but they have that play that Pittsburgh uses a lot, and I think Vellucci brought it because he was in Pittsburgh with Mike Sullivan. It's the play that Crosby uses at the goal crease. You think he's playing goal, but he's getting way down on his legs, and he's blocking the puck, and he's got that tap in at the far post. And Bertuzzi's scoring goals now. Blashill had him as a minor leaguer, and he had him in Detroit, and Vellucci's brought that into the system. So, but what it is, it's a shot. And it's a pass really, but it's in the area of a shot to the far post. So I think that's the kind of things you have to do. You know, if you're going to have a tap in, you gotta have that system. You gotta have other passes around. But I think maybe taking shots from the point, if you can teach your players retrieval. When I was in Detroit, we had everybody that was so good, but one guy that was really good because he was net front, Thomas Holmstrom. He was a net front guy. He succeeded Dino Ciccarelli, who was one of the best in my era when I didn't even have him in Detroit, for being around the goalkeeper, not in the crease, but retrieving the puck. In other words, if the puck went off behind the net or if it went to the side, they left the front of the net. They went and got the puck. They'd give it to somebody else, and they went back to the front of the net. They didn't just stand there. So that's a big thing with the power play. It's net front presence, but retrieval.
trying to avoid the conversation about the crease and Joseph Woll goes down. I'm just curious, sort of the mentality
Mhm.
from a coach when something like that happens, and how do you make sure the confidence doesn't waver with the team as well?
You mean the goalie leaving his feet a lot? You mean, or what?
No, Woll going down, like getting hurt.
Oh, yeah. I don't know the injury, what type of injury. He's had misfortune for a while now. I don't. I mean, you only hope that players can recover from injuries and not get a relapse. And I don't. I didn't get any report on that. But when the goalies today, they move around, as you know, they slide. He's got a pretty good slide. I watched him a little bit playing before even last night. He moves from side to side, which is very important. It's I look at goalies in the league. That goalie for the Minnesota Wild that had that shutout streak, the Swedish goalie, he anticipates passes across on power plays, and instead of shooting, they try that little pass, and he's over there. He's over there before. Like, it's like when I used to watch Tampa play. Their power play was so superb in those cup years. Stamkos on the one side, Kucherov setting everybody up, Point in the bumper, and Hedman at the top. And they had a net front guy that could go and retrieve pucks, usually Cirelli or Paul. And but Stamkos, the goalies, unless they anticipated that pass across, Stamkos would have open nets from the dot, because the goalie never got across. And that's something that goalies, I'm sure they study it now. And the ones that can get across, Woll can get across pretty quick. He's good side to side, so he's going to make some of those saves. But unfortunately,
Definitely.
What's the injury? Do you know anything about injury on him or not? I don't know.
They're just saying lower body injury. That's about it.
Yeah, but
But it's been a tough
knee?
year with Stolars and Woll, right?
Yeah,
Well, sure.
they haven't.
I mean,
They haven't
you need to.
said yet, Scotty. We don't know, but like in your day, like we get frustrated with the Maple Leafs. I mean, they are so off base with what they give to the media as far as injury reports. It'll be day to day, and the guy's out 4 weeks. You don't know what specific part of it. In some of your era, I mean, targeting was a real issue, and playoff series, you get greasy out there. Do you think the Leafs are too tight-lipped about the way they report their injuries, or is there a reason for it?
I think it goes through the league. We're a copycat league. There's no question about it. When things work for teams, and it seems that whenever that happens, like it's there's things that happen and they're automatic. Like a coach has to be interviewed after every game, and sometimes the question. I mean, somebody gets hurt in the third period. And all of a sudden, the question comes up: what type of an injury does he have? Well, I mean, by that time, it may not even be diagnosed. So I know why they're doing it. You never know. There are players that could target other players, and I'm not familiar with what they're saying all the time. I don't see every press conference, but I do know that. The information you give at a press conference, it's compulsory press conference now, I think, because it's throughout the league. There isn't a coach that is not interviewed after the game, and which they want to give it to the media, give the information, but at the same time, you got to be careful what you say, because it can be translated into a lot of different situations.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Rosehill. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.